Hello everybody, and welcome to this foil fireside chat, as we're calling it. Today we're looking at the issue of apprenticeships in the law, and in particular the level 7 apprenticeship, which is coming for some recent changes at government level. And we're very pleased to have with me today Ben Winstanley and Jersey Tambue, and also Rebecca Byrne from DWF, and also as always my good friend Mark Huxley alongside me as a co-conspirator, co-interrogator. So I'm going to start off really with you, Ben. Perhaps if you could just explain your role at DWF, and then just from that lead into exactly how apprenticeships work and what is the level 7 aspect of it that's been so sort of controversial just lately.
Definitely. Yeah, good morning, Laurence. Morning, Mark. As Laurence said, my name's Ben Winstanley. I'm the Apprenticeship Programme Manager here at DWF. The apprenticeship's been running for much longer than I've been here, so maybe I can take some credit for fantastic hires like Jersey, but Rebecca's been here much longer than I have. I'll touch on what are level 7 apprenticeships at quite a high level. So a level 7 apprenticeship is a work-based learning programme that's the equivalent level to a master's degree. So what it does is it allows individuals to gain an advanced qualification, but whilst working at the same time. So what you're combining there is the on-the-job training, so doing the job 4 days a week, and then the academic study, which takes up 20% of the time. So for apprentices at DWF and most firms, that's 1 day a week. Now, these apprenticeships are typically aimed at higher level professions. So you're looking at areas like management, engineering, accountancy, and of course, law.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks, Ben. So what's happened recently that's given you some cause for concern, and how's the situation now?
Yeah, well, I like to use the word recently there, Laurence. I wish it was recent and quick. This has been dragging on now since, well, November, October time in 2024, and we were expecting answers in and around Christmas, which didn't come till more recently, like you mentioned, Laurence. But as a quick summary, the government had a plan. Their plan, the Labour government came in and they had a broader goal of rebalancing the apprenticeship levy to support more young people at the start of their career. So as we mentioned, a level 7 apprenticeship typically aimed at developing high-level professional skills, and this government's thoughts, or this government's view, was that by focusing too much of the levy at the high end, at a level 7 apprenticeship, the levy wasn't being focused at the low end. So apprenticeships start at level 2 and 3 and go all the way up to level 7. And this government's view was that too much of the money was being spent on experienced professionals at the top end than the low end. So they came into government talking a lot about rebalancing the levy, and where we thought we wouldn't get caught in this crossfire is the level 7 solicitor apprenticeship, which Jersey is on and which Rebecca has completed. The entry requirements for that programme are A-levels. So you can finish your A-levels, as Jersey's done. I know she can come on and talk about her journey in a few moments. You can finish your A-levels and join on the programme straight away. Now, there's no hiding that for some level 7 courses, like the level 7 senior leader, a management course, the level 7 accountancy courses, you do need prior skills and prior knowledge, and sometimes quite heavy prior experience to be onboarded onto the course. So you can see where the government was going, or what they were thinking of doing. But particularly for our level 7 standard, if they were to remove funding, which was their initial plan, they were going to remove all funding for level 7s, which would mean that firms have to stump up the funding commercially themselves. The level 7 programme's £27,000 per apprentice. But what would have happened in that instance is, for us, there would have been no alternative route to qualification than the traditional route of going to university, coming out of university to get a training contract, doing a vacation scheme, and then sitting the SQE exams, which is a traditional route. It's an expensive route, and it's definitely not a route that's available to everybody.
Mm-hmm. So if that decision had sorry, Mark, but if that decision had been upheld, that the impact of that in the big picture would have been a very much a narrowing of the demographic backgrounds that would be, or would have access to apprenticeships into the law. Sorry, Mark, you were going to say.
No, I was just kind of going to develop out a little bit away from the kind of strategic end of it to the kind of practical benefit end of it, and kind of turn to you, Rebecca, as somebody that went through it. There's the benefit you've seen of it as you come the other side, and where your kind of career is now, and the opportunities it's opened up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Ben was saying, I joined DWF as an apprentice fresh from college. So I started here when I was 18. And I initially did a paralegal apprenticeship and then moved on to the level 7 solicitor apprenticeship. So for me personally, I found it completely invaluable to do it this way. I never really wanted to go down the traditional route of going to university full time. It wasn't just something that appealed to me. I wanted to get working and get started somewhere and earning some money, but also keep going with my education. So it was the perfect thing for me to come up. But yeah, I think what Ben says and what Laurence says is completely right. If they'd have carried on the way they were going with it, it would have massively reduced the availability to people. Because I myself did okay in A levels. I didn't do amazingly, but I did okay. But if they'd have removed that and it was purely down to university prospects, typically employers would want those with, the straight A's, the A stars, rather than people more so like me who were a bit lower down in those grades.
And I think that belies the maturity that we all take as we go through kind of teenage years into early 20s. You can't cookie cutter people. So that diversity of learning that comes in, I mean, it's just massively important.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people on the apprenticeship now are amazing people, and they probably wouldn't have ended up in this career if it wasn't for that. So it was really important. I think that was protected in the end.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think I was just going to add that a huge focus for us is certainly social mobility, and I sometimes fear that it's become a bit of a buzzword at times. But I was actually looking at some data from one of our training providers, Besemer, and they shared some data about all their solicitor apprentices, which is a good few hundred of them, and it showed that 35% of their solicitor apprentices had received free school meals. It showed that 94% had attended state schools, and 73% of their apprentices identified as the first generation to go to university. So when we're talking about why it's so important for the legal sector, it's because that alternative and accessible route without the need for a traditional university degree is winding in our profession finally. So we can promote social mobility because of it. We can start to address skills shortages, and especially in the regions and the underrepresented areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think the government's current policy, the policy that they've now adopted, is going to help rescue the situation?
Yes, so just for those people's awareness who are unaware, the initial suggestion from the Labour government was that all funding was going to be removed. Defunding was the hot topic. That all funding was going to be removed from level 7s. Now, the recent decision that's been made is that there has been a defunding of level 7 apprenticeships across the board. But the recent decision is to exempt 16 to 21-year-olds from the removal of that funding. So if anybody is under 22, that's the best way to think about it. They're not yet 22 before they start a level 7 program, then they're okay to do it. Now, that has sparked some controversy. A lot of critics are maybe suggesting that it's more of a token gesture and it's only going to benefit a small fraction. Now, selfishly, I think for the legal profession, it covers a lot of our worries. As we mentioned, our students are coming out of A levels and straight onto the course. So it definitely benefits us, but where there might be an issue, and I know we're going to talk later, Mark, about a bit of a wish list, and Rebecca mentioned it as well. There's a lot of people that start on a level 3 program and progress. Now, if somebody is on a level 3 program and wants to progress, but is going to be over 22 by the time they step up to the level 7 program, that path's going to be cut off for them, but we can touch on that a little bit later.
Okay, no, good call, Ben. So just turning to you, Jersey, I mean, we've had the kind of reflective view. You're kind of in flight during the apprenticeship at the moment. How are you finding it? Again, just echoing many of the sentiments that in the questions that we've asked before, do you feel it's opening up your career pathway in a very positive way for you?
Yeah, 100%. I don't regret doing the apprenticeship at all. Like, I think the university route would have been a very, very different experience for me. Like, I do often say that I think if I went to university and did everything traditionally, I think I really would have struggled with, especially financially, just like from my background, single parent household, like yeah, I think I really would have struggled to like support myself as well as like keep up the good grades, like Rebecca said, and try get the 2-1, the first class degree to like progress professionally kind of thing. So yeah, I do really think that the apprenticeship was the best route for me. And my experience so far, I am loving it. I think I'm learning a lot more about law than I would have like through work experiences or like just 1 week stays at firms where you learn about just like general things and you don't really get anything detailed. Yeah, I think the apprenticeship is the best for that in that sense as well. And I think it's also helping me academically. So like through the study of like contract law, for example, I was able to speak to an associate that worked with construction contracts and really got to learn about how that worked in practice as well, which also helped when I did my exam because I was able to refer back to our conversation and it really put things in perspective for me. So I think the apprenticeship is also good in that sense where you get to see things in practice and get to apply what you've learned in the classroom in real time as well, like as you're going through it. So yeah, I think the apprenticeship has been very beneficial in that sense, both academically and also practically. And I think I've just learned a wealth of knowledge, especially about insurance as well. Prior to the apprenticeship, I didn't know much about insurance and like the amount of sectors that there are in law. So I think going into it, it was very much like a deer in headlights. I didn't know what I was about to like learn and get into. But even in insurance, there's loads of different areas you can get into. And in my team specifically, everyone's in a different area of insurance. So my supervisor, she's in professional indemnity. Another colleague was in motor, disease, lots of very varied sectors. So I think, yeah, I've learned a good depth of knowledge, especially in these last like 8, 9 months, that I think were completely invaluable.
Yes. Thanks, Jersey. I mean, I think this is something that we've talked about at tomorrow's foil, haven't we? That a career in insurance law probably offers an opportunity to practice more of the areas that you learn in theory than almost any other area of law, because as you say, you've got to understand contract, but you've also got to understand tort, agency, regulation, all of these areas of law that law graduates study in theory, going through the normal graduate route. You're getting to experience how to use that knowledge in a practical sense. So that's the beauty of apprenticeships generally, but it's also a good advert for insurance law as a career of choice, because you get to be involved in so many different things. And I think spinning off from that, insurance claims cover so many different areas of life and activity. And we often say that if there was no insurance industry, there'd be no cars on the road, no planes in the sky, no ships on the seas, because these things have to be insured, and an awful lot of businesses wouldn't exist at all, universities included, if there was no risk transfer mechanism to take away some of the risks that these businesses would otherwise face themselves, and would be unsustainable in terms of financial risk. So that's really, really good to hear. I suppose perhaps if we go back to Ben, you talked before we started recording about the costs of employing people, and the ways in which, if you follow the traditional recruitment process, it can sometimes not get you to the right result. But so you think the apprenticeship scheme specifically helps with that sort of difficulty?
Yeah, we are certainly seeing that. And I can speak for DWF here. We've retained 100% of our solicitor apprentices who've qualified, and there's a reason for that, and Rebecca can maybe touch on it as well. From a firm's perspective, once we get them through the apprenticeship right at the end goal, what a bargain we have. We have an NQ on an NQ salary with somebody that's been with the firm for a minimum of 6 years. And for someone like Rebecca, it's probably more like 8 years by the time that they qualify with us. So in terms of the person that you're getting at the end and capturing them before university, particularly for a firm like us, and Rebecca, it'd be nice for you to touch on maybe why in a traditional commercial law firm, you've tried out the commercial seats, but find yourself staying and qualifying in insurance. And the beauty of the apprenticeship there is that when we find somebody like Rebecca, who's unbelievably intelligent with an open mind, we can start to shape our apprentices into the solicitors that our firm needs. We can start rotating them around the business. We can open their eyes to different areas. I know Jersey mentioned about maybe not knowing too much about insurance. I didn't before I started here. Insurance for me was holiday insurance, car insurance, and phone insurance. And apart from that, I didn't understand much. But what we can do now is start rotating them around the business, letting them spend 6 or 12 months in a team, finding areas that they're passionate about. And again, that's a net win for the firm as well. We then have people qualifying into areas that they're genuinely interested in. And they know they're interested in them because they've tried some areas that they didn't like so much, and they've tried areas that they did like. So Rebecca, maybe that leads on nicely to you about what opened your eyes to insurance and why did you decide to qualify there because of your apprenticeship?
Yeah, so when I initially joined, so back when I was 18 on my level 3 apprenticeship, I was placed into the DWF major injury team. So we deal with a lot of motor insurance claims, people that have been injured in road traffic accidents or other serious personal injuries that they've sustained. And I was just put there based on my interest. So during my interview, one of the learning and development team sort of asked me what areas I was interested in based on the learning I'd done at college when I studied law. And they felt that from speaking to me would be the best fit for me. And they were absolutely right, because I just loved it from the moment I started. I just found it so interesting. And so I stayed there for 3 years before I then moved into other teams, and just nothing compared when I moved around. So I did some real estate work, I did some finance and banking work, I did some finance litigation work as well, dealing with sort of claims where people had breached their car payments, their PCPs, things like that. And it just, nothing was as interesting to me as the personal injury work that I was doing. Just the vast different injuries that people were suffering with, the different defences we had. So yeah, I think that was really helpful to me being there from early on, because I've seen a case now. Obviously, I qualified in March last year, so I'm now handling my own cases. But when I started, I was just putting documents in a file. I didn't know what anything was. And I've been able to see it over sort of 6 years worth of experience in the team before I actually qualified. So yeah, I think that's invaluable, really, being able to see it all the way through and learn on your feet, as Jersey was saying. Obviously, the experiences I had, I got to go and sit in courtrooms, go into meetings, sit in with witnesses. So you kind of learn it all for yourself on your feet over a longer period of time, rather than just being thrust into it for a 6-month seat, which you would do on a training contract. So you just don't get the same depth of experience.
So I'm going to put my final shout as a dare I say, veteran of the insurance industry. I learned very early on about the social impact of insurance, and you've kind of said it on the call, and it just so dismays me that the industry does get kind of too early prejudiced by individuals, because typically the most times now people touch insurance industry for the first time as a human is a car, is a mobile phone, and you passed your test, you're 17-year-old, and you're confronted with this huge great premium and you hate the insurance industry. And my 2 pennies about the apprenticeship, for what it's worth, is through insurance has come to a place, generally not just the legal services part of it, but to judge by graduates, not by the right life experiences to come in. The shame is it hits a juxtaposition where people that are post-grad in professional services based degrees do not come into insurance because they've got every other career sitting in front of them at the university open days, and they get led into consultancy, led into banking, led into investment, led into dealing, and insurance is very much a poor cousin. And the apprenticeship to me has always been the route to bring very bright, curious young minds into the industry that actually get to see that as they're qualifying, as they're learning all the great stuff that you've been talking about this morning, and they stick in the industry. And whether that nuances into the legal services side of it, which is your catalyst, and there are enough lawyers that come back into the insurance industry mainstream, particularly on claims, or the other way around. It's just a wonderful door opener, and we absolutely need to cherish this to bring the good next generation talent. I operate in the London insurance market, and there was an awful statistic at one point. I think it's changed slightly now, but this was COVID-ish times, that there were more people still working in the London insurance market over 50 as there were under 30. And I think that told you everything about the lack of talent attraction, which great organisations like London Market Group and others are really trying to put through. But anyway, I should get off my own personal soapbox about that. But I mean, just moving the conversation on, you touched it on earlier, Ben. You threw kind of one wish list out just as a bit of a open chat around the three of you. You know, kind of what, given where it is now, what would make a great scheme an excellent scheme and give it the kind of legs and longevity to take it well into our futures?
Yeah, I think what we do need to look at here, and my ask to the government on the defunding would be definitely to look at the progression route. The level 7 solicitor program is a 6-year course, sometimes onto a 7-year course. That's a huge commitment that we're asking a 17, 18-year-old to make. And where the level 3 apprenticeship has been really good, particularly for smaller firms who maybe can't absorb the risk and the cost that a big firm like DWF can, has been to give people their first opportunity on the level 3 paralegal apprenticeship. The level 3 paralegal apprenticeship takes 2 years. It's a level 3. During that time, especially at DWF, the apprentices are treated the same as a paralegal or a solicitor apprentice in their first 2 years. And it gives, as much as it gives us an opportunity to try them out and how are they and what are their capabilities, I think more importantly for the individual, it gives them the opportunity to see, is this the industry for them? Do they want to commit into a career as a solicitor? So, and a lot of firms, that's always been their advice. Well, come and try it on the level 3 paralegal. If you're happy and we're happy, you can progress. I'm sure that was the dream that was sold to Rebecca, who finished that and progressed on. That is definitely still the dream that's been sold to a lot of people. And there is now people in the system who are incredibly worried about what their next step is. They've joined a firm to try it out at a level 3. They're doing well, they're impressing their firms, they want to progress. But now, because of the age limit that's been put on, they're not going to be able to progress. And that is a massive shame. So again, if they've now tried out the industry and enjoyed it, their only way now to go and qualify is to step out of employment, go to university to get a job, and then come back and do a training contract, get a degree, sorry, not a job, go out, get a training contract, and then qualify. So my ask would be, okay, I understand that there's an age limit put on and we are trying to rebalance the levy, but I do think there should be an exemption in there for people who are stepping up on the same program, but finishing a program and stepping up to the next level. I think we should be doing everything to avoid catching anybody in there and then putting a ceiling on their development.
Rebecca, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree entirely with what Ben said. I think particularly the level 3 part, that for me was really important because obviously I came in slightly different circumstances to, I suppose, what Ben's talked about when people join when they're a bit older onto the programme. But when I was 18, it was my first real job. So you don't know if you're going to want to do it. And as Ben says, 7 years, 8 years is a long time to commit. So having those initial 2 years for me actually is what convinced me that I wanted to do it, because I got to experience it rather than just going straight to university and doing the degree and then having to try and apply for training contracts, which are so overly subscribed still, even now with the apprenticeship route available. They're so hard to get and it's really competitive. And then, you know, you might get there, then you might not enjoy it, and then you lose that talent anyway. Whereas if you do it the apprenticeship way, you know, you're learning from day one, you're in the job from day one. So there's more retention there. And as we were discussing earlier, it opens it up to such a wider group of people that maybe can't afford to go to university or would struggle with that side of it, being away from home, for example. So yeah, I think that is really important if that can be extended, just to keep that availability there for people. But also I think there needs to be better understanding generally in the industry of the apprenticeship. I think a lot of people are just so used to the traditional route that they're maybe not sure what the apprenticeship offers and how much actually work goes into it. Because obviously they see you on the floor in the job role, but I don't think they realise the extent of the study that sort of Jersey's doing now and that I had to do. You're still doing a degree, you're still doing your postgraduate qualification, just still sitting the SQE, which also is not very well known about, I think, for people that practice in the profession. So I think a lot more awareness of that would be really helpful as well, to actually understand how hard the apprentices are working and the things that they're achieving are really going under the radar.
No, well said. Jersey, you're the one in flow. What's your wish list, apart from the fact you just come through with flying colours and everything else? But
Yeah, I just kind of want to shadow what both Ben and Rebecca said. Like, I think um it people shouldn't be punished for wanting to take it easy at first and wanting to do 2, 3 years in the beginning to see if they actually really want to continue with law and really stick their foot in, kind of thing. Um, and also, yeah, more awareness for apprenticeships, because there's been a lot of people, like partners, for example, that don't even really know about SQ, like Rebecca said, and kind of got left behind with that. So, like, keeping everyone updated on what's going on in law, at the lower level of things, and letting people in different sectors of law know this is what apprentices do, this is how they can help, and like more awareness of like how useful we are in a sense as well, I think would be very useful, because I think at times we can be like underestimated just because of our age, and I don't think that should be a barrier. I think we should be treated, say, like trainees to a degree, and like been be stuck in that way. So I think through that we can do that through awareness, like Rebecca said. So yeah, I think I just shadow what the both of them said. More awareness and yeah, more leniency on older people that do want to do a legal apprenticeship.
Yeah. Right, thank you, Jersey and Rebecca and Ben. I mean, Foyle did start to make quite a lot of noise around this issue when before that exemption for 16 to 21-year-olds was announced. And we'd be quite happy to continue lobbying, the Minister for Skills and the Department of Education on this issue of whether we can get some additional exemption to allow people that have already started an apprenticeship but have turned 22 to step up to level 7. I'd be happy to work with you, Ben, on that, and Mark on the right form of words to send off to the Department for Education, because I'd like to think we had some influence in the changes that have been made so far. So happy to continue that. And we worked with the Law Society and with APIL as well on that. So I think we, combining our voices was quite powerful. So if there's further reforms that we'd like to see, Foyle will be more than happy to work with, all stakeholders to try to get that message across. So we'll do that. So I'm just going to wrap up with one final round of questions for each of you, and Ben, you might approach the answer to this in a slightly different way to Jersey or Rebecca, but I just wondered if you've got sort of one piece of practical advice to anybody who's listening or watching this fireside chat, as to where would you start if you don't currently have apprenticeships as an employer, as a law firm? Where would you start? And maybe one tip that you could give any employer considering offering level 7 apprenticeship?
Yeah, I'll look at it from the employer's perspective. What would I tell employers who are considering now? The first thing I'd say is absolutely do it. When we're talking about services, businesses like ours delivering for clients, we need to represent the backgrounds of our clients, and bringing younger people into the conversation with their thoughts, the world that we've grown up in now, can really add a lot of value. So there's definitely the benefit to the business of bringing them in. Smo, I'd say bring them in, and my top tip would be offer some sort of insight days. Bring them into your companies or your firms before they apply. Let them come and have a look. Let them meet some people. Let them meet the leaders. Let them understand the teams. I'll give you a really good example. We've just launched in partnership with one of our insurance clients, Aviva, who I'm sure everybody's aware of. We've launched a series of events called Inspiring Insurance. We were finding that Jersey, you may fit into this bracket. Too many people wanted to come in here and do employment law, real estate law, M&A, finance and restructuring, corporate law, because everybody's seen Suits, right? So we thought we actually need to start getting them thinking about insurance earlier. So Inspiring Insurance, we partnered with Viva on it. We hosted a great event in Birmingham. Brought in loads of students who are in sixth form, so college, at that stage where they're starting to think about their next steps. And we had a whole day with insurance lawyers doing insurance-based tasks. We were talking about risk, we were talking about cost, and we were asking them to discuss in groups the potential cost of this event or this person, and we pitched it at a level that they may enjoy, like ensuring Taylor Swift's voice on her tour or Lionel Messi's left foot, pitched at things that they were interested in. And we had a really success story. One of the girls went away from the day. She came back, applied for our apprenticeship here. She got an interview. She then sat in her interview. She was talking about marine insurance and the issues that we're seeing in marine now and global trade and how that's changing and where the opportunity is for insurance companies. She's then successful. She's got the job. She starts the solicitor apprenticeship with us in August this year. So you can, just by bringing them in and opening their eyes to your industry, you really can start to just get them thinking and imagining themselves in the industry with a career in insurance. And we've had good success with that. So bring them in, show them around the place, show them what type of work's on offer. And Rebecca, perhaps if I could start, put the same question to you, but looking at it from the other end of the telescope, as as someone who's been through an apprenticeship scheme, any one particular tip or thing that you think would help somebody thinking about starting their career that way?
I think do it. If you want to do it, absolutely do it. I think it's the best thing that I ever did. It's given me an amazing career now. It's given me so much experience, not just obviously in my field and the work I do, but it's given me so much life experience in terms of working alongside older people, younger people, people from different backgrounds. So it's really opened up a lot of avenues for me. And yeah, I just think if you're going to do it, obviously you need to be quite committed to it. It's a long process, so you need to be sure about it. But you've just got to throw yourself in at the deep end, get involved in as much as you can, because so many opportunities will come up through doing it. And there's so many interesting areas you can go into, as Ben says. It's not just one size fits all. It's definitely not like suits, if that's one piece of advice I can give anyone. It is so different. And yeah, I think as long as you just open yourself up to all the different opportunities, you will really enjoy it. And you've got to be prepared to work hard, but you will get the rewards from it at the end.
Thank you. Fantastic. And Jersey, finally, to you, what's your take on looking at things from where you're sat?
I think what I'd say to someone that's wanting to start an apprenticeship is to research as much as possible. So using resources like this fireside chat, for example, or there's loads coming out now, the more and more people that are doing different types of apprenticeships and in different sectors of law. I think research is the most key thing, because I think my research through like speaking to people that have done apprenticeships or doing apprenticeships and doing different work experience, I think that research really helped me be sure that I wanted to commit for the 6 years, because like Rebecca said, it is hard work and it is a big commitment. So yeah, I think knowledge is power in that sense. So research as much as possible. Try and learn about all the different sectors of law as much as or as little as you can, kind of thing. Like just try and learn as much as possible, just so you can be sure in yourself and so that you can present to your employer like, I'm committed and I've looked at it and I know what I'm getting myself into. I think that would be my top tip.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I think I can wrap it up from here. Unless there's anything else you want to add at this stage, Mark?
No. Other than I've thoroughly enjoyed this. It's been a really, really good session.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So, can I really just say thank you then, really, for your time this morning, and Ben, Jersey, Rebecca, Mark, of course, as always. Appreciate your input. And yeah, I sense this conversation hasn't finished, but for today we'll wrap it up. I hope everybody that's watched this has found it useful and enjoyable, both as people considering a career in insurance law and also for employers as well. So thanks very much for everybody's input, and we'll see you all again soon.